Emily. This is my husband, Devlin.
Hey, guys.
We're at Tahoe Tour and Taste. So today we are going to be showing you guys what each knife does. So thanks to Carrie Hutchison, one of our dear, wonderful customers. She posted in the group a few weeks ago and asked us to shoot this video asking what each knife does in her set because she's not sure. We figured that there might be more than one of you guys who have this question. So that's why we're here today. So Dev's going to do most of the demoing because I don't know why, but he is. And
I lost the bet.
Oh, that's funny. I forgot that. All right. So we're going to start, though. All right, babe. Start.
All right. So we put all this together, and I forgot to bring a paring knife. So hopefully you guys know what a paring knife is for. I'm going to use one of our steak knives as an example. So basically a paring knife looks just like this, but it comes out 3.5 inches. So to about right there, so you guys can see it. And a paring knife is traditionally what you would hold in your hand if you have a potato or an apple and you are actually going to cut, I'm sorry, I keep looking at the wrong thing, if you're going to slice off the skin on it. And so most of us grew up with our moms using a paring knife a lot. My mom, her favorite knife to this day is still a paring knife. So we carry one of those. It is simply for just smaller fruits and vegetables, getting the skins off, and you can use it for slicing as well. And it looks just like one of these steak knives, just a little bit shorter. All right, so the first small knife we're going to go over is our cheese. And one of the things we love about this cheese knife, a lot of the cheese knives we carried over the years would work fine on soft cheese, but they weren't very good on hard cheese because they were extremely flimsy. So we're super excited about this one because it works on the soft cheese and the hard cheese absolutely the same. So a lot of people are like, why would I need a cheese knife? If you've ever tried to slice cheese with a regular knife, you notice it gets stuck. As you go down, the cheese kind of sticks to both sides of the knife, and you really have to fight it. Well, these holes right here completely let you go through the cheese, and it releases, and the cheese doesn't stick to it all, and you get those perfect slices. Another neat thing about this cheese knife, if you'll notice this edge down here, instead of putting a serrated edge on the bottom, they use the same scalloped cutting edge that our bread knife has. So this is designed, if you have a cheese that's got a wax on it or something like that, it'll just go right through it. A lot of our customers have discovered this also doubles as a small bread knife. So if you just have a baguette or something like that, this is perfect for it. And then we have this fork on the end. So if you had a bunch of people over and this whole board was full of meats and cheeses and stuff, you could leave this knife out. They could slice the cheese, slice the meats, and then turn around and put together their hors d'oeuvre without ever touching it with their hands. And that just makes it a perfect thing for occasions when you have people over. So I think we are running a special on these at some point.
And we'll send that out as soon
Yeah,
as
so this is a great holiday gift for people and if you're having some holiday parties to have. So we absolutely love this cheese knife. So the next one we're going to talk about is the 4-inch cleaver.
Oh, and the 4-inch cleaver is actually my
grab it for you?
favorite knife. Yeah, thanks, babe. All right, so the 4-inch cleaver is designed to go straight down on things. And so I use these on Brussels sprouts. All right, so this is the funniest part of the video. We obviously have a green screen behind us, in case y'all can't tell. Brussels sprouts and celery are green. So on this video, y'all see this? Look, disappear. Look, oh wait, now you see it. All right, so the celery really is
probably
green.
Not funny to you guys. It's absolutely
hilarious. It really is funny here. So the celery really is green, as is the Brussels sprout. Just FYI, I promise we did not find rotten food to cut for y'all. All right, so we're going to take the Brussels sprout. We're going to shave off the root, and then I would cut it in half just like that. And then literally, you use this to just to cut straight through it. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? And you can get nice, long, thin slices. So this is designed to go straight down. You don't necessarily have to use it as a slicer like you do on it. So here I'm actually slicing. But on the Brussels sprout, I'll do it again. Literally on this, go straight down. And then go straight down again. So the other nice thing this is good for sweet potatoes, especially with Thanksgiving coming up. I know a lot of us do a sweet potato casserole or something like that. So if you have a hard time cutting sweet potatoes, use your 4-inch cleaver. So this, y'all can see. Oh, my baby, you got real sweet potatoes instead of yams.
I am so cool.
I'll be darned. Most of us get yams instead of sweet potatoes. So same thing though. Y'all can see how it's just going straight down. and then you can turn around and again cube it. And y'all, let me see, show y'all. And you can see the cubes that we would do there. So, like I said, a lot of our customers tell us that they have a hard time with sweet potatoes or anything that's super dense, and that's where this 4-inch cleaver comes in handy. It's small enough that it helps us maintain control of the blade, but it's still the shape of a cleaver, so we can go straight down through really dense vegetables like the Brussels sprout or like a sweet potato. So, all right, so there's our 4-inch cleaver.
Yay!
Also, I highly recommend you wash your knife before you put it back on your block, but we don't have that luxury because, well, that's not real behind us. So, all right. So there's that. All right. Go ahead, baby.
Yeah, we're actually coming to you guys live from a correctional facility. Totally kidding. Totally kidding. So, we're in Denver, which is close. So basically, I'm kidding. We love Denver. Denver's great. So let's see what's next. Next, we're going to do a boning knife. And so a lot of people have a knife like this at home, but they tell me all the times it shows they don't know what it's for. So I don't have a piece of meat to show you this, but I'm going to kind of show you with a tomato here. So a boning knife is a thin knife, and it's got an upward curve. So if you have a breast of chicken and you're trying to get it off the bone, it's basically a scalpel. It's surgical. And to kind of give you an idea of what you can do with something like this guy can just get in there, follow along the bottom of a piece of skin, say on fish, and just cut off that fillet. And we can do that with several other knives as well, but this one, because of that point, if you want to get just surgical and just get one little piece out, it is there for trimming the fat off meats before you cook it, getting the silver skin off. It is a godsend for cleaning up meat before you're going to cook it. It just gets everything you want done. Now, I do have a lot of customers that also use this as a semi-fillet knife. On a huge piece of fish, it's probably not going to be that great. But on the smaller fish, this works great for that as well. So, and then I've also had people use this for coring peppers, which is one of my favorite things. So because of the shape of this, you cut the top off the pepper and you just go around the outside of it, and it just cores it absolutely beautiful. If you're carving a pumpkin, there is no knife better than using this for carving a pumpkin. It is phenomenal. So that is our boning knife. We love this thing. All right. So next, we get a lot of questions on this, so I'm going to kind of go through it. Actually, let me do it with the big ones. Let's see. We're going to grab our big chef, and can we move some of this out of the way, babe? And then we're going to grab our big santoku. So a lot of confusion is what are these two knives for and why are they different? We also get a lot of questions on why does this one have dimples and why does this one not. So basically with these two knives, and so you can see them here. So this is a French shape. This is a little bit more of an Asian shape. This knife and this knife, for all intents and purposes, will do basically the same things. This one is better for slicing, and the santoku is better for chopping. So when we say slicing, what we mean is let me take a piece of this celery. So what we mean by that is a motion to where the tip of your knife is on the board, and then you're doing a forward slice on it. That is what a French chef's knife is completely designed for, is for that motion right there. And so you can go through a lot of things really quick, got a lot of work done on it. And it's got the round, so you can do that nice slice. So can I do the same thing with a santoku? I can, but I have to direct it a little bit more because the only curvature I have is right up here at the front. And so that's the part where I'm doing that. So does everybody kind of see the difference on that? What this knife was more designed for, if you notice most of it in the back is kind of flat, that is more so what we're looking for in a santoku. It is great for your chopping. It's also a little bit thicker blade and it's a little bit heavier, so it's got a little bit more weight to it. So, but these $1 million question at a lot of our wine festivals we get is people walk up, if I could only have one knife, what would it be? The true answer to that's probably the chef's knife, just because you've got the point of a paring knife. You can slice and you can chop. This chops as well as that, but you only have about that much in the back for your perfect chopping because that's where it's flat. If you try and chop with any other part of the knife, when you're done chopping, you're going to have to pull all the food apart because it didn't go all the way through it because of the curve, if that makes any sense. So there are our two main ones. We have those also in smaller sizes. So we have a 6-inch version of the chef's knife. And then we have a smaller santoku. Now, our smaller santoku is kind of interesting. It is a santoku as far as the thickness and the dimples. And by the way, I didn't answer why the dimples are there. When you're going straight down through things, it keeps the food from sticking, kind of like we talked about the cheese knife earlier. The food separates easier when you're going straight down through something. With the slicing, you don't need that as much. So that's why the French chef's knives never had that. So our 5.5 inch is kind of a blend between a chef's knife shape and a santoku and with a dimple. So this is a very unique knife, and a lot of people really enjoy it. So it's a little bit easier for that, but it's also great for chopping. So it's a great all-in-one kind of knife. So
And I'm going to add one thing on this 5.5 inch. One of the reasons I love, even though it's a smaller blade, so even though it's the same pretty much as your 6-inch chef's knife, it's one of the few smaller blades that has the same thickness or width, I should say height.
Yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
babe. The same height as a 7.5 inch. So if you guys can kind of compare that. So when I get asked if there was going to be one knife, I actually really like this one just because if I still have something, which he's getting ready to demo the spaghetti squash. So I'll use this on the spaghetti squash though once he cuts through it the first time. But this is still high enough, even though it's a shorter blade, to get through a really large onion or a really big zucchini or even a head of iceberg lettuce or cabbage. It still has the height you need to be able to safely go through it. Whereas that 6-inch chef's knife is hit or miss sometimes. Okay.
And so yeah, basically what she's talking about, if we green.
Oh, get all the green
Oh
off.
yeah. Bye green.
Um,
That's awesome.
hang on.
So while she's doing that,
Production side
basically a simple rule with knives is if we've got something like this sweet potato here, I don't want to try and cut through it with something that's not at least almost as tall as this. And so what she was talking about in height, does everybody see how that's almost the same height right here? So as we're going through the sweet potato on the end, what's happening is my knife is not lost in the sweet potato. But if I were to take, let's see, something thin like this, it's a lot more dangerous because it kind of wants to get away on me because I don't have control over the smaller knife going through the larger objects. So one of the keys with knives, if you can get your knife to be about as tall as what you're trying to go through. Now, honestly, we're cutting this completely wrong. The first thing they always teach you is to take whatever you're going to cut and then cut it in half. So you have that flat side to work with. Does everybody kind of see what I'm talking about? So you want your flat side like this so it cannot roll on you. So you'll cut it in half. And then once you've cut it in half, a lot of the all-purpose knives are going to be a little bit taller than what you're trying to cut through.
Which actually, and y'all probably saw how he struggled a little bit with the 5.5 inch going this way. Again, he said height of what you're cutting, but also the length of what you're cutting. So this knife was a little too short to get through the sweet potato. So you would want to take something like this. Y'all see the difference? Now, because it was long enough to get straight through it, I was able to do it in one easy motion versus having to struggle with this. So now, do I want to use this if I'm dicing up strawberries? Yeah, you can, but a lot of people don't feel comfortable, so that's when they switch to something smaller like the 5.5 inch. So just a little.
And one of the things too, we have people all the time that are like, I only have one knife at home. When they come up to our booth at one of these shows, they'll say, I have one knife at home and I use it for everything. And what we've usually found out is that's the one knife they have that's sharp. And all their other knives are dull. And so they'll tell me, oh yeah, I have this paring knife and I use it for everything. And I realize the paring knife is probably the sharpest knife they have. So when all the knives are sharp, their shapes and sizes actually mean something, and they lend to different jobs. And I'll give you a good example. We carry a 7-inch cleaver. Ooh. And we're in October, so this is a perfect knife for October, right? We recommend everybody buy one of these and answer your front door with it in your hand every time someone knocks on the door. It's so much fun. You'll love it. So, especially with a COVID mask on. So,
you like how Devlin keeps looking at the knife?
Yeah, I keep looking. The knife's so pretty in the monitor here. Sorry. So I'll give you a good example on that. People all the time tell me that when it comes to butternut squash, stuff like this, they just struggle. It's a big pain, so they're always looking for it, pre-cut and that type of thing, which is fine. You can do that. But when you have a big knife like this, the safest way to cut something is in as few motions as possible. So if I took this knife and tried to go through this initially, I would struggle with it like I struggled with this. But if you have something like this, in one motion, you're done. Another good example that's pineapples. People tell me all the time, pineapples, I struggle with those. When you have something that's big and heavy, it does all the work for you, and you notice it's just one motion and I'm through it. That is a million times safer than using one of these other knives that might make me feel more comfortable because they're smaller in my hand. The reality is this is a lot safer for on something like this as using a big cleaver. Does that so?
You're
Don't
gonna
leave
say,
anything
does that
else.
make
Does that
sense?
make sense
But
to
y'all
everybody?
can't answer us.
Yeah, you can't.
Unless you can in the comments.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Hopefully
then
that-
you can. But
hopefully
yes,
that
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense.
So if you ever struggle with the larger things, that's when a cleaver is actually your best friend, and it is extremely
Cameron.
it is extremely much. Sorry, they're gonna fire me and hire someone else.
I
It,
can't,
it,
I'm
it
married
is
to
it
him.
is so much safer because you're using it less as far as the motions on that. So that is that. And then you wanted to go back and show them something on this.
Yeah. So the other thing you can do. So once you have used this, and so we'll take a few more chops out of this, and y'all kind of see how I'm doing this. So go straight down through it. Okay. So once we take this, and if we wanted to cube them for the oven, you can obviously turn around and use that. But if you don't feel comfortable using this for such a small job, then you can turn around and take, I would use like a 7.5 inch. Every time follow me, and do your cubes with a little bit smaller knife. So what I do when I'm chopping, I start with something big like this to get through the harder parts. And then once I'm comfortable with, or into a little bit smaller size, I choose a knife I'm a little bit more comfortable with. Just so that, I don't know, I'm not so worried about cutting myself, quite frankly. That being said, the cleaver is one of the few knives, even though this is a gigantic cleaver, in my opinion, you can still take it, and it has the same precision as our boning knife. So there are very few cleavers that you can turn around and fillet a tomato with.
Yep. It's extremely nimble for its size.
Does
In
that
fact,
make sense?
we have a couple of chefs. This is their chef's knife. They use this for everything, and they have one paring knife on them in case they need something that needs the point.
Yeah, because you can still. So, we didn't plan on showing y'all the cleaver that much, but
Yeah.
apparently we
It's
are.
a really, really cool knife. It's also great if you're any of my people out there that like to barbecue and stuff, and you're getting down to like shredding the pork and stuff like that. This knife is absolutely amazing for those types of things. So awesome. So we're gonna put that back. Next one I'm gonna talk to you about is the bread knife.
Fortunately,
Do you
the
want me to
bread's
do it, or do you
not
want to do it?
green.
Yeah.
No,
The
go
bread
ahead.
is not green. So our
I'm
bread
gonna
knife
make
is
some
kind
of
of
this.
interesting. Instead of being serrated, it is scalloped. All that means is the teeth are sharp, not the valley in between the teeth. So on a serrated knife, the teeth actually aren't sharp. It's the valley in between that's sharp, and that's why it cuts like a saw, and it just leaves dust everywhere when you're cutting stuff up, and it just rips it and tears it apart. With a scalloped blade, you're going to get through it without any of those things. And so I don't know if I've got a good angle for you guys there, but it just goes right through it, and it just makes cutting the bread so much more fun and easier, and you don't have a huge mess. Also, you'll notice it's got a raised handle. My knuckles can never hit at the bottom of the loaf. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about this, but just a regular straight bread knife, you have to cut on something raised or pull it to the edge of the table, or what happens is you end up having to cut like this, that last cut. And so this was actually something that was figured out in the deli industry years ago, and it's just got that raised handle, and it takes all the work out of holding. It's pretty awesome. I have 2 pro barbecue teams that they actually use this for slicing up ribs after the ribs have been smoked, just separating them, because it doesn't leave any marks. It doesn't rip or tear. It just slices straight through because of those scallops. It's pretty cool. So that's a bread knife. Next one is
Hang on. And then on the bread knife, sorry, babe.
No, you're fine.
Also, you can turn around, and if you have something that has a rind and you don't want to use a cleaver,
True.
so the bread's actually really good to go through pineapples, cantaloupes, watermelons, like anything with a rind, really.
Right.
The scalloped blade on this helps go through that. And the nice thing on a scalloped blade versus serrated blade, we can actually sharpen the bread knife, which is kind of cool. All right, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry, babe.
absolutely. So if you have one of the sharpeners at home, it will sharpen this. You just have to go slowly through it. If you have the steel, you can actually steel it. You just go slowly. So it's about a 20-degree angle. We're We're just going to pull it slowly down both sides, and that is going to keep this bread knife honed, because once again, it's the teeth that are sharpened, not the valley in between. So pretty cool. And then I think, is that down to the slicer? Is that the last thing?
So then
Did we leave one out?
I don't know. Y'all tell us. Did we leave one out? I think we're good.
Think
Yeah.
we're good?
Then we're down to the slicer.
So that's our slicer. This one is a big hit, especially at holiday time. I don't have a roast up here or a brisket or a tri-tip or something like that to slice for you guys, but we're going to use a tomato. If you've seen us at any of the live events, you've seen us probably do this before. But this really gives you a good example. The way this knife is designed, it's got a 10-inch blade, and it is designed for you to start at the back of what you're about to cut, and it allows you to have a 10-inch draw through it, so you're not having to do a ton of the back and forth work, which is nice. Because the more we do that, the more juice comes out of whatever we've cooked. So to kind of give you an idea of what this knife will let you do, I showed you earlier with the boning knife, this guy is literally designed to where you can just do those paper thin slices of meat that are just folding over like you get at the deli, and it just gives you complete control. This knife is designed for you to be slicing something that is no longer has any bones attached to it. So like the breast of a turkey, a ham, things like that. It is for slicing something where you're not having to worry about a bone. If you need to get something off the bone, the boning knife works great, which is that guy right there. The actual chef's knife can work great because you just need the point when you're going around a bone. Once you're not dealing with that and you're just slicing, that is what this guy's for right here. And it just gives you all that control. It is awesome. And the way you know it's your slicing knife, because it's round on the end, it's designed so let's say this is a roast and I accidentally bump it, it doesn't poke in it and let all the juice out. So that's why it has that round end. Of course, for years I used to tell people it was designed so you could safely run with it. We really don't recommend that, but it's funny to me. So yay. Also in Texas, this is considered a butter knife. So we're very happy about that. Anything else?
Steak knives.
Oh, our steak knives.
Which, I mean, obviously, we're pretty sure y'all know what steak knives are.
Yeah, these are very unique. They're not serrated, which is one of the first things people notice. Also, it's a paring knife profile with about an extra 1.5 inches on it. So what happens is people get our steak knives in and they end up using these for everything. It's great for utility work, cleaning up stuff. If you don't have our boning knife, it's the closest thing you can get to that'll still do the boning work for you. And once again, it is a scalpel. They will just do anything you need on it. They're absolutely awesome. So,
and we took the serration off so you can actually use the handheld sharpener on them. So, or you can use the honing steel, whichever one you feel more comfortable with, or you can use both. Use the honing steel until they need a brand new edge, or you feel like they do, and then you could use the handheld sharpener or just send them to us. So, just kind of in a quick recap, because I know that was a long video. So, for those of you who are just going to fast forward to the end to see what the nutshell of this was, here you go. So we have a paring knife. Paring knife is for really small things. So if you want to peel an apple, if you want to peel a potato. Then we have the cheese knife. Cheese knife's obviously for cheese. Next is your 4-inch cleaver. Any starchy vegetable that you need to just go straight down with. So sweet potatoes, carrots. This is also a
your
really
root
good
vegetables.
one.
Yeah, anything that fights you a little bit that's got a root in it.
So yams.
Yams.
Boning knife is taking the silver skin off of your meat. If you want to use it as a fillet knife for smaller fish like tilapia, something like that. I actually also use this on avocado if I want to get around the pit of an avocado, and then also to get the seeds out of bell peppers. So I actually end up using this as
very
a
important because she mentioned avocado. Are you holding the avocado in your hand when you're using it? You sure?
Yep.
Okay, so avocado's down.
Yeah, I cut it in half and then I put it down and we'll scoop around
when we're doing live line events, about once a month, someone will walk up to me, look at our knives, hold up their hand and show me a scar right here. And I look at them and I go, that was an avocado.
Here's the problem. I mean, y'all can do that if you want, because that's how most people get their avocado out, is you put this in the pit and then it pulls it out. These are super sharp, so if you're going to do that, do not do it hard because it will go straight through that pit. Yeah. I'm just giving y'all a heads up. Yeah. But if y'all feel more comfortable doing it that way, more power to you because that actually is the correct way to do it. But,
and there's also a simple pro tip. Let's say this is avocado in the pits right here. If you guys will, you could literally microwave it for about 10, 15 seconds and then come back with a heavy knife like this and hit the pit as hard as you can, and it just knocks it loose and it comes out with a spoon. You didn't know that?
No, he doesn't even eat avocado.
17 years later, I can still surprise her.
I have been struggling with avocado for 17 years.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
You just hit it and it pops right
Hey,
up.
Carrie, thanks a lot for having
Yep.
us do this video. I learned something. All right, so this is for chopping. The chef's knife is more for slicing or breaking things down. And then your bread knife is for bread, but also anything with a rind. So pineapples, cantaloupes, things like that, watermelon. Your slicer is our favorite meat knife, roast beef, brisket, hams, tri-tips. And this, because you're not sawing back and forth on your meat, it'll actually help keep the juice inside the meat. So it makes your meat juicier, which sounds weird. And then your 7-inch cleaver for anything really big. This is also good for watermelons when summertime does come back around. Your steak knives, and did I leave anything else out? I already did that one.
Did the cheese. One thing, because I don't know if I showed you guys this, we talked about it doing bread, but it just goes right through the bread just like the big, which is really, really cool. So I like it. This is good if you guys ever plan a picnic or you're going camping or something like that. Great knife to take with you.
What's the end for? What's the little points for?
The points on the end are for building your sandwich
Okay.
or chasing your loved one around the house and poking them. I'm kidding, don't do that. Sorry.
All right, so that's pretty much it. Also, I think the only other food we forgot to mention, because a lot of people ask us the best one for zucchini,
Yeah.
or like a spaghetti squash, things like that. I would recommend either this knife or your 8-inch chef, either one of those, just depending, honestly, how much stuff you're cutting. And how big the zucchini or the spaghetti squash is. Cucumbers, I tend to use this one for as well. That's your little 5.5-inch. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if y'all have questions, just comment in the comments.
Yeah. And that, comment in the comment section.
What if somebody wants to buy?
Oh, and then, thanks, Danny. This is why we have Danny. So if you need to order one, go to TahoeKitchenCo.com. That's TahoeKitchenCo.com. And Danny, I'm sure we'll put that link in the comments. And there we go. Wait, are we reversed? No, we're not. Right there. Okay. So TahoeKitchenCo.com. And you can order there. Look under Wolfe Cutlery. And then if y'all have any questions, just let us know. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
All right.
Super appreciate you guys. If there was something we did not cover, like a certain food, or for somehow we forgot a knife, because there's always that chance because it's Friday morning and I've had this much coffee. If there's something we've forgotten or you have another question, that's why we have this group. Shoot out the question, and if you have any idea for a future video, things that you would like to see, please send us that too, because we are right now getting all of our content lined up that we're going to do for the rest of the fall and the winter. So please let us know what you guys would like to see from us, whether it's a how-to video, whether it's a recipe, whether it's me chasing Emily with the cheese knife, any of those things. If you want to have a pumpkin carving contest in the group, that would be awesome, because I might win. It'd be pretty cool.
You won't.
I won't win. So I just eat the pumpkin. So if you would
and
like to see a recipe for pumpkin Alfredo, which we just did in one of our cooking classes,
which was amazing.
it was amazing.
And for all y'all who see this who are in the group who've been to a cooking class, does that make sense?
Yes.
And only you guys will get that joke. Yeah. All right. And Danny, since you're our guy who tells us what we need to say, is there anything else we need to add?
No, close out. We'll come back to them live soon.
All right. We'll see you guys soon.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.